Curious George, Good Night Sue by Gina Gold. There was a new baby panda just born at the zoo. George had been watching the zoo's panda cam all day. That panda was so cute. You know, the zoo's right down the block, the man with the yellow hat told George. We can go see the panda if you're... But before the man could finish, George was gone. George got to the zoo, and he had one thing on his mind. Baby panda, baby panda! But there were so many different paths at the zoo. How could he even find the baby panda? Then George saw a nice big map of the zoo. The baby panda's home was right in the middle of the zoo. The map helped him figure out which way to go. Seeing the baby panda in person was much better than watching it on a screen. George could look at the panda for hours. And he did. Before he knew it, it was dark. The panda was getting sleepy, and so was George. George knew he better get home. Time flies when you're watching a baby panda. But when George walked out of the panda habitat, the lights were off. All the people were gone. Oh no! George was locked in the zoo! How would he find his way out? George couldn't remember what path led back to the zoo's entrance. He started in one direction and spotted some keys inside a hut. Keys open doors, and doors let you out. All George had to do was now find the right door to get out of the zoo. But there were a lot of doors at the zoo. George tried door after door. None of them were the right one. Soon he was back where he had started by the baby panda. And so were the rest of the animals. George must have forgotten to lock all those doors he opened. What fun! George thought this was what all the zoos should be like. That is, until he realized that all the animals were waking the baby panda. George knew what to do. He had to put all the animals back. He ran as quickly as he could. But none of the animals seemed happy. Maybe meerkats didn't live on ice. And those giraffes were awfully tall for that small cave. Were orangutans supposed to be in water? George knew that different animals had different needs. He realized he had put the animals back in all the wrong places. George needed to get all the animals back to the correct habitats. The penguins lived on the ice, and the flamingos needed water. Luckily, George had an extra zoo map. Now he could easily see where all the animals lived. Meanwhile, the man with the yellow hat was at home waiting for George. He sure had been gone a long time. The man looked at the panda cam. George was still inside the zoo after closing time. The man rushed to find him. Back at the zoo, George had finally gotten the meerkats, orangutans, penguins, flamingos, bats, and giraffes back where they belonged. The animals were happy to be back in their own environments. Phew! Yep, George had gotten everyone home, except himself. George checked his map. Luckily, he was very close to the zoo's entrance. And even better, the man with the yellow hat was there waiting for him. George climbed over the wall and jumped into the man's arms. Did you like the baby panda? The man with the yellow hat asked. George sure did. He took the man's hand and they walked home together. George was exactly where he belonged.